To be clear, though, there is a woodpecker. That little thing has pecked no less than 5 holes in the siding of our house. My husband and I were concerned at first because we thought, hey, he's after food. Maybe there's termites in the walls. Nope, he's just an asshole. Anyway, we've been lazy. And the holes have been there for a few years now, being used by other birds as a nesting space. We recently had a squirrel scare where we thought a pregnant squirrel had made a nest in there. Sounds of domestic violence rattled from within the wall. Thankfully, the squirrels moved on and it went back to just being birds. But I digress. The woodpecker is still around and must have had babies last year because we've seen some juveniles this year. Not sure if it's them or the older one, but someone's been at it on the house lately and I've seen one pecking at the balcony banister too. So when I was woken this morning by this thing pecking on the walls again, I didn't think much of it. Okay, I thought about murder, but that's neither here nor there. I checked my phone, 3:07, way too early to get up. I rolled over and closed my eyes to go back to sleep, but then it hit me. Woodpeckers are diurnal. So what the hell was this asshole doing pecking on my goddamn house at 3 a.m.? No small amount of pissed, I threw my covers off and stomped to the window, throwing it open and sticking my head out to chase this thing off. But my angry words died in my throat. The creature outside of my house was not a woodpecker. It wasn't even bird-shaped. I don't know what it was. It was skeletal, about the size of a large man, but with a skull 3 times the size it should have been. Tattered scraps of dirty cloth hung from its frame. They twisted in a breeze that brought the scent of ground bones and musty leaves to me. The sound that I had mistaken for the woodpecker was this thing running its fingers along the walls of my house. Its knobby hands skittered across the siding like spiders made of bone, tap tap tapping a chilling beat as it moved methodically along. As it traveled alongside the house, one step at a time, it worked its fingers up and down every inch of the wall. My chest started heaving and I pressed a hand over my mouth. I was looking for a way inside. I ran to the kitchen, fumbling to open the cabinet where we kept the salt. As soon as I had the canister in hand, I ran back to the bedroom, picking the spout open on the way. I poured a line of salt across the windowsill. It was a trembling, an uneven line, with thicker spots of salt here and there, but it was unbroken. Peeking out the window, I saw the creature was a good 6 feet from the window, still tapping away. I glanced at my husband, still sleeping in bed. How was this not waking him? Not knowing how thorough this thing would be in trying to find an entry to my home, I quickly went through all the rooms in the house, tracing the windowsills with a line of salt. For extra measure, I dug out an old bundle of sage, my intent being to follow the creature from inside the house with the lit bundle. I didn't know what the best deterrent to this thing would be, but a bit of smudging couldn't hurt. By the time I got back to the bedroom, lit smudge stick on a saucer in hand, the creature had made its way past the first window, around the corner of the house, and by the sound of it was drawing close to the second bedroom window. I stood about a foot from the glass, quivering. The skull came into view, and I fought to not pee myself. Streaks of rusty brown coated the mandible, and up to the orbital bone, thicker around the mouth. Bits of something were stuck on it like insects on flypaper. The eye sockets weren't just empty, they were a void of absolute black from which it was hard to tear my gaze. But tear my gaze I did when it paused its search for an opening and tilted its head back. A long, wriggling tongue emerged from its mouth and tasted the air. It undulated just outside the window pane. I got the sense it was scenting the air like a snake. Could it somehow smell the sage? It certainly smelled something it didn't like. The thing gave a hiss that slithered into my ear and along my nerves until it reached my spine, where it flowed down, leaving a trail of goosebumps in its wake. Its head twitching back and forth, the creature backed up, the rag-clad bones of its arms waving around, as if to bat something away. I watched as it continued to back away, hissing as its arms flailed. Finally, with what I could only describe as an eyeless glare, it turned and walked away into the woods behind my house. My breath rushed from my body as the last tattered scrap of fabric disappeared into the darkness. Something brushed against my leg, and I gasped, nearly dropping the plate and smudge stick when I jumped. And row, I looked down to see my little void floof sitting next to me. Jesus Christ, must you do that? I hissed. The answer, given as another headbutt, was yes. I stamped the smudge stick out on the plate. Come on, you're going to keep mommy company while she's waits for dawn, because I knew there would be no going back to sleep. So I took my cat and curled up with her in the cushy armchair in the living room to wait for daybreak. To my relief, there were no more sounds from outside, as the cardinals and chickadees began their morning song. And the first light of day was seeping over the trees. I finally dozed off. I don't think I was asleep for long when my husband woke me with a gentle shake. "Honey, why is there salt across all the windows and doors?" Blinking the crust of sleep from my eyes, I said, "We might have a problem, and it's not the woodpecker."